Hey everybody. It is a little after 11:30 here in New York, and we are joining you here today because it looks like they have arrested the man that authorities say is responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk. Hi, Michelle.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Uh,
We don't know much about this man yet, and I don't want to jump to any conclusions because that's all that I've seen Republicans do. Um,
mhm.
or I shouldn't say Republicans. That's all I've
I
seen
mean,
Americans
there's a lot of people.
a lot of people do on social media, and a lot of Russian bots and Chinese bots sowing disinformation, as I said a few days ago, and as Spencer Cox, the Utah governor, Republican governor, I want to add, noted last night. I do want to talk a bit about how this moment has accelerated the divisions we have in this country,
Mhm.
because to me, that's the most frightening part of this. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm going to say this about Charlie Kirk because I think it bears saying, at least on my end. Charlie Kirk stood for everything that I oppose. He was a homophobe, he was a transphobe, he was a misogynist, he was a racist. I don't think that he would necessarily dispute those characterizations if he were with us. Maybe he would dispute how harshly I'm terming him, but just to give you some examples, Charlie Kirk said that gay people should be stoned to death because that's what Leviticus says. Charlie Kirk said that women should focus on staying home and raising their babies, including Taylor Swift, and should get married because they age out in looks after their 20s, and therefore they need to, snag a husband while they're still hot. Um, Somebody who did not get married until my 50s. I strongly disagree with that notion. I had a great time in my 20s, 30s, and 40s working in my career and otherwise living my life. Um, he said that he would not feel comfortable with a black pilot because he would assume that person got their job because of DEI.
Mhm.
And that is just a taste of what he stood for. Having said that, Michelle, Charlie Kirk was also a husband and he was the father of two little kids who will not remember how he held them, how he hugged them, how he loved them, how he smelled, how he played with them. And that is an immense tragedy. Charlie Kirk should be here today
Mhm.
to say all of the things that he has said that I disagree with.
Mhm.
There's no reason on earth why he is not here, and everybody should have the ability to say what they say, no matter how disagreeable we may find it. So, with that out of the way, what I have found to be increasingly psychotic is that even before Charlie Kirk was pronounced dead, people like Elon Musk went on their social media platforms and said that that Democrats did this. Democrats did not do this. It turns out that Tyler Robinson, the alleged shooter, is a registered Republican. Is that right?
I mean, that's what I saw and I'm reading. But again, even the Wall Street Journal this morning or yesterday even was posting, or they reported the thing about, oh, the transgender, possible transgender
Yeah.
ideology according to a source. And I'm like, well, what source? And then the whole thing ended up being like something that Steven Crowder, who's like a podcaster, had this thing. Like, and then they like sort of retract it, and then they still mention the sentence in the retracted statement, like in the next article that was written. And actually Sarah Longwell pointed out, she was like, I cannot believe they included the sentence. And it says previous reports say blah 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 blah, that turned out not to be true.
Well, it was
Like, don't even
actually
mention it.
it was actually a gamer symbol. Apparently, I guess he was a big gamer. I mean, again, we don't know is the point, and the reason we're coming on today
Yeah.
is not to traffic in conspiracy theories and not to traffic in information about this man that may or may not turn out to be accurate. The only thing to say is that I am deeply, gravely concerned about what this has exposed. And you might ask who benefits from this kind of division and near civil war in our country, right? Because as the Chinese look to the Taiwan Strait and as um, uh, the Russians look west towards Europe,
Mhm.
you got to wonder, right? While we are sitting here taking our eye off the prize, what happened to Charlie Kirk is a tragedy. It does not merit 24-hour wall to wall coverage from CNN, and MSNBC and Fox and the New York Times and everybody else. It does not merit having CNN, as I saw yesterday, take live footage of his casket being loaded onto the plane, then being loaded from the plane, then arriving. Like, he's not the Pope. And no matter how successful he was incredibly influential. I tremendously envy the organization that he built to try to break
listen, like
my son
powerful,
into him.
powerful. I
Powerful
mean,
man.
there can be an argument made that he had a heavy influence on 2016, but I would argue even more so that without Charlie Kirk in 2024, Donald Trump wouldn't have won in a lot of places.
Michelle, you were at my house the other day, and we were talking to my 13-year-old.
Yeah,
He knew exactly who Charlie Kirk was.
exactly.
And he said all of his friends knew exactly who Charlie Kirk was. And he told me and Michelle, name by name, of who was mourning Charlie Kirk's death. He's in eighth grade. Which of his little eighth grade friends were mourning Charlie Kirk, which of his eighth grade friends didn't really care, but they all knew who he was.
Yep.
When I said, how did you know who Charlie Kirk was? He goes, oh my God, he shows up in my YouTube feed all the time. And I said, really? Because I know what my son watches on YouTube, and it is not political at all. And that's the point. Charlie Kirk was incredibly successful in getting into the feeds of kids, not on politics, but on, who are watching. I don't even know what my son watches. Mr.
Well,
Beast
even so, like with me, remember we had a whole conversation about how I had Googled millennial gray because I was trying to learn what millennial gray is. And apparently it's a shade of gray that millennials use, and it's awful and lifeless. And I personally am opposed to it. But I found this whole video about it. This young woman, it's like colorful. She's very attractive. It's well produced. And she's talking about how, we've lost sight of how we can express ourselves in our homes, need color. And then she starts talking about like communist countries and socialist countries and how they don't have color and they have these like structured kind of gray buildings. And I'm like, that's interesting. And then she goes on to play a clip about Tucker Carlson talking about this. And now listen, Tucker Carlson in the moment is saying something that I agreed with, that it means something to build things with your hands. I mean, Julie, like I love home projects. I have tools.
Michelle's going to come over here. You see that white wall behind me? Michelle's going to take care of that for me.
I am. I will. And it's going to be beautiful. Like I painted that, like whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But, it resonated with me. So if I was someone who didn't know, I would be like, oh, he makes a lot of sense. And then I went on to go find out who this woman was. And she's one of the loudest voices at TPUSA.
Yeah. And Turning Point USA, right?
Yeah. And actually hours before the assassination occurred, she was tweeting out stuff about how we need public executions. So I'm like, what? This is where
they're really good.
They're very good.
They're really good. And listen,
what
he built in the decade that he was involved in this stuff, he was only 31 when he died, is incredible. I mean, if you want to eulogize Charlie Kirk, that's the eulogy for Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
Is you don't have to agree with him to understand how powerful Turning Point USA was. His conferences were must-attends for presidents, for senators, for members of Congress. He had several a year. They were youth-oriented. He did more than, if you want to know why Gen Z
moved to
the right, that's Charlie Kirk. I mean, it's Ben Shapiro, but it's really Charlie Kirk. I mean, he's very, and to his credit, he would debate you.
He'd debate anybody.
He would step away from the mic and he would meet people in person, and he had a little tent that said something like, come debate me. And unfortunately, that's where he died, which is actually a huge tragedy because he was there to debate people. Now, were these debates skewed?
I don't think it was in good faith, but
but he did, right? He did, which most of these people won't do. And on both sides, by the way. And so, that is the testimony to Charlie Kirk. That is the
he was incredibly talented and built something very powerful. Now here's where I take a turn. Is I've been watching a lot of people on legacy mainstream media. I've seen a lot of people in the so-called left opposition, very big voices with large publications behind them, as Recline, And talking about this in a way that I think is really dangerous, because I think that the moment that we start to normalize and this level of martyrdom that is going on, like, let it be known and remembered that Charlie Kirk spoke openly about his disdain for women, and we had no value to him. And this is something he preached to millions and millions and millions of young boys. And that permeates into the consciousness and the behavior that those young boys then bring into their lives and adulthood. Not just women, Black women, immigrants, gay people. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, he was a white supremacist. Like, he talked openly about how Black people were less than. And I will not forget that. None of us should. However, under no circumstance, none whatsoever, should anyone be hurt or shocked or killed in this country or any country. That is not, first of all, not a good sign of a healthy democracy at all, but also a sign of a larger sickness and cancer within our American culture of violence, and inability to talk to each other. And now, again, I'm not going to get kumbaya here, because it's hard to mourn someone who thought that your value was less than human being. But as an American citizen, or anybody in America with their feet on American soil, have the right to speak their mind. It is a right.
And what's so scary, Michelle, and this is what's coming, folks, and I just want people to understand, because I'm not going to make your weekend by saying this, and I'm sorry, because I know it's a Friday and we all want to kind of relax from this really horrible week. But even before Trump knew who was responsible, within hours of Kirk's death being announced, as this massive manhunt is happening, Donald Trump delivers a screed. That's the only way to describe it, on Truth Social, because of course that has to be monetized for his social media channel. He can't speak to the American people from the Oval Office like a normal human being. And he says that the left has engaged in political violence, and that he is going to go after anybody who engages in political violence and the organizations that fund them. So understand what this is. Speech leading to political violence will be defined as anything that is speech opposed to Donald Trump. And that means that he's going to go to the court and he's going to say, look, Julie and Michelle are sitting here talking about how awful I am. And that's putting me in danger, because people listen to them. Look at all the people they have in the chat right now. People are listening to them. And maybe somebody here is going to do something because Julie and Michelle are saying they don't like me. And this is akin to yelling fire in a crowded theater. And justices, this is not legal. And this Supreme Court just may allow him to curtail the First Amendment.
I absolutely, listen, there's not a doubt in my mind.
So and that, my friends, is totalitarianism. We're not even jumping from a democracy to authoritarianism. That's Russia. That's totalitarianism. And if you are of a certain persuasion, of which Donald Trump is the leader, Charlie Kirk's death is a tragedy, but there's that famous line, out of every crisis, there is an opportunity.
Absolutely.
This is an opportunity for them. This is an opportunity for them to shut us down, which is why they immediately, and I mean immediately, rushed to Twitter and every other social media channel they had before the body was even cold, before we knew who the assassin was, to blame this on liberals, on all of us, on our speech, in order to shut us down. How much longer we're going to be able to do this, Michelle, before we get the knock on the door, I don't know. We're going to do it until we get that knock on the door, maybe even after.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, that is what's coming. And I don't want to say this lightly. And that's why we wanted to come on today and talk about this, because while stupid CNN is following the hearse from Air Force Two, from it being loaded and unloaded, what nobody's talking about is this. And while MSNBC is firing contributors for telling the truth.
Yeah, I didn't really think that anything listen, however anybody feels about Matthews out as person is like their business, but like I didn't think anything was that terrible. I mean, I just didn't. Am I wrong here?
No, he didn't say anything that's even remotely controversial.
I mean, he said what was true, that he was an incredibly controversial person who offended a lot of people.
So this is what's happening in corporate media. This is like, you've got one station firing people for saying something remotely critical of Charlie Kirk, even though, I'm sorry, Charlie Kirk never apologized for saying anything remotely critical about any of us, whether we're women or gay people or Black people or
like,
Latinos,
or Julie, when Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked in their home, that perpetrator was arrested. First of all, there was a rumor/lie that was being spread within MAGA, disinformation, that it was Paul Pelosi's gay lover. And there was this whole joke, and Don Jr., posted this photo of like white underpants and a hammer, because for anybody who maybe doesn't know this, is that he was attacked with a hammer. And then Charlie Kirk went on his show and he told people that somebody with money should go and bail this guy out, because he didn't, essentially praising the act, and that he should be out of jail.
And nobody apologized for it. Nobody.
No, they never do. And that's the thing. It's like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, Julie, because like every time, it's not okay to do this on either side. And I'm not both sidesing this. However, I feel like when these things happen, for instance, the 2 lawmakers in Minnesota that were killed in their homes by an extremist who had lots of other plans to take out more people. Donald Trump is asked on Air Force One if he's going to call the families, and he said it would be a waste of his time.
Yeah.
And nothing. I
mean, I'm sorry. Fox was dedicated to making fun of the Pelosi attack.
Yes.
Anybody there get fired? No. And
it's the business model. I mean, this is the thing that I feel like I'm, and then they all the finger wagging at our side, not to mention coming from the inside, like the Ezra Kleins, all these people finger wagging at us. I'm like, the virtue signaling, please, I'm sorry, but like, spare me.
Yeah.
Spare me.
These guys are going to be virtue signaling into the concentration camp.
This is what I'm saying. I'm like,
they'll be putting cattle cars, and they'll still be virtue signaling and both sidesing it. That's what I mean. I mean, I was so, Michelle, I texted you. I was so angry watching CNN yesterday. JD, and then, this hagiography, JD Vance would not have been like, what are we talking about here? This guy was a very powerful, very influential podcaster and organizer.
Yes.
Remember when they made fun of Barack Obama for being an organizer? Well, that's what Charlie Kirk was. He was very good at it.
Yeah. Listen, if he hadn't passed away, if he hadn't been assassinated the other day, I think he could have been would have been president of the United States in the next 15 years. Yeah. Hands down. Absolutely.
100%. But the point is, he gets now a state funeral is what Nancy Mace has put out there. That she wants him to lie. Yeah, please.
From our friend over at, I never know if it's OAF Nation, OAF Nation, whatever. Representative Nancy Mace will introduce a resolution to have Charlie Kirk lie in state in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda, which is an honor reserved for U.S. presidents, generals, and national heroes. And when this happened, by the way, when all this happened with Charlie Kirk and everything, I was over at Julie's house. We were working on stuff for May Day, and we were like, trying to get stuff done. I think we were 30, 40 minutes into our coming together that this happened. And towards the end of the night, when we, your husband poured me a scotch, God bless.
He's got a heavy pour too.
Very heavy pour. I was like, on my way home. I think I said something like, just wait. They're going to have him lie in state. Like it's going to happen. No one's going to vote against this.
In vino veritas, Michelle, as the Latins would say. in wine there is truth. You always think, or to quote, what's his name from Game of Thrones? I drink and therefore I know. You're so right. Yeah, you're so right. And, what you are saying is absolutely right. Our side's not going to vote no against this. So now you're going to be forcing Black legislators, female legislators, gay legislators to vote to honor somebody, dishonor them on a daily basis.
Constantly.
On a daily basis.
And if I hear any, like, again, this is where I'm like, well, it was his job. He was just, because I've heard this, like that was Charlie Kirk doing his job. And I'm like, okay, Charlie Kirk was his job. He was the job was him. He was 18 years old. He dropped out of college and decided to do this. And listen, again, to the point that we were making in the beginning, it's an incredible, powerful, organizing, thing that TPUSA is. I would say probably more powerful than any sort of CPAC or anything like that. It was the youth version of MAGA and CPAC where people actually had fun. And I mean, these people, I don't think I would have fun, but these people had a great time. And he made it cool to be a Republican.
That's exactly right. He made it cool to be a Republican. That's exactly what it was. But listen.
Okay, just really quick. Chris, I just want to make sure that you understand, because I don't know if you're just jumping on here. I don't know if you're saying this overall, generalizing enough with glorifying this man. If you're saying this to us, I just want to be clear here that is not what is happening. So I just want to be.
I don't know if you've been listening the last half hour, but we're not glorifying him.
No.
All we're saying is, despite his accomplishments, from my perspective, CNN should not be doing gavel to gavel or casket to casket coverage for him. MSNBC should not be firing people.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. My bad. I saw that and I just had to respond immediately, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And Luck Dragon points out, and you're so right, he didn't believe in empathy. He thought empathy was a 21st century woke word. Let me tell you something. I'm going to bring up my son again, and I'm sorry to do this
please, because I think your son is such a prime example of like what is happening. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And I've used him as an example the last couple of days talking to people about this.
But I'm going to bring him up.
Okay.
I had, every year I have the parent teacher conference, and I was meeting with his advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And his advisor said to me last year, and this is 7th grade, which is a tough age, as everybody who's in 7th grade knows.
I would never go back. You couldn't tell me.
He said to me, I have rarely met a more empathetic kid in my many decades of teaching. And that your son, naming him by name, I don't like to use my son's name. It's not hard to find. I just don't like talking about him.
No. Yeah.
But is just so deeply empathetic that when my son is very sporty, and so he's, as a result, when you're a boy, you're athletic. There is, you have friends, right? Because boys respect sports. So my son has a lot of friends, which is nice. He said whenever there's another kid who has problems and he doesn't have friends or he's new or whoever, we always ask your son to talk to him, because your son always brings the boys, or whoever who don't, he goes to boys school, so it's only boys, but brings the boys in who don't necessarily are not socially adjusted, always ask them to sit at the table with him. He's just an incredibly empathetic kid. If somebody had said to me, your son is a Mensa member and Harvard is giving him an admission letter right now, I would be less proud. Like, to hear that my son has empathy for other people is like, well, my job here is done. And by the way, I think he was just born that way. It has nothing to do with me. Like, he's just,
come on.
You get, honestly, I think it's a lot of it is nature versus nurture. Like, you just get what you get. He's got a lot of other issues where I want to, hang myself. I'm not suggesting he's the perfect child.
No, but
but that was just wonderful to hear. And I only bring this up not to talk about my son, but I bring this up because as a mother, and I think anybody here who is a parent would understand that raising an empathetic adult, ultimately, is the biggest reward you can have. Like, you're raising a good human being is what you're basically being told. And well, thank you. I hope that's true. But you know, what I want to say is that if you're demeaning empathy and you're saying that and you're in Twitter feed, sorry, not Twitter, you're in the YouTube feeds or wherever other kids are watching you, right? You're in their feeds and you're giving out the message that empathy's bad. We are raising a generation of horrible people if that is the message that we're putting into their ear when they're 10, even younger, 10, 11, 12, 13, whenever your parents allow you to have an iPad or, some sort of device, which should not be early. So, that's what we're talking about here. Thank you, Maria. That is who we're talking about here. And we're talking about somebody who demeaned empathy. That's awful. That's awful.
Yep. I'm, I got into it on my, I have a couple Instagram accounts. I have a personal one because, I keep my family, to your point, I keep my family and my close friends separate from what I do for a living. And I got into it with somebody. He's a friend of a friend. He's a good person. He's a Democrat. He's moderate Democrat, son of immigrants from Croatia. We have friends in common. I met him at a wedding or something. Anyways, and he's like, Michelle, I want to push back on this a little bit because, what did he ever do that like explicitly incited any violence, or he explicitly, was marginalizing entire groups of people? Like, I know, like I didn't agree with the guy, but like, I don't know that anything he did was that bad. And I was like, okay. I said, I really actually don't know where to begin. I truly feel like I'm now going to have to explain how hate speech evolves into, behavior and sometimes violence if the person, if that's in their nature to do. So there was that. And I said, and listen, I said, as a woman in the political sphere, as you are as well, Julie, and, when we do our show on Wednesday and Saturday, JoJo usually logs into her Twitter account and we get viewers on her account. And so we get all the comments too. They are 9 times out of 10 white guys who are verbally harassing.
Oh, if I don't get
like for being women.
If I don't get the call, and the C word is like,
oh my God. It's like
instead of grammar, instead of punctuation, you use the C word. Like that's how you
yeah. And so, it's the threats. I mean, we've all gotten threats. We've all gotten DMs and emails from people. I mean, just really awful. And you should see the stuff that Tara gets. It's like, I mean, because you've got the misogyny and the racism and the you're a traitor to the Republican, like many layers. So, I say this to him and he's like, well, I'm really sorry that happens. And I'm like, yeah, me too. But I said, listen, would it be helpful if I put together just like a supercut of all these things that he has said, and not with any agenda, just like put it together? Because I think it's important that people know that this is, I mean, I was at LP before this. And so we were always working on this stuff. And actually, it's funny, the guys from The Daily Show that work with us are good friends of mine, Matt Negrin, who just won an Emmy. Congratulations. We talk about this. They're like, there's a small group of people in this space who wade in the right wing shit. There's a few people. It's a very small circle. And we know more than anybody what these people are saying, what they're doing for years and years and years. And so I'm like, I have whole folders on my phone from different right wing, conservative voices of just clips of them saying horrible stuff, because I know that one day I'm going to need it and I can throw it in a video or something like that. And I was like, I had like folders of Charlie Kirk stuff, folders and folders and folders full of just like horrible shit that he says. And like, it is his right to say it, but it doesn't make it any better it doesn't make it any better to post-mortem say,
I'm just going to
he was this, he was that. I don't know. It's not helpful.
I'm just going to say this, and it's going to sound maybe pretty awful, but I truly believe this about anybody, and I hope people say this about me after I die too, right? When people die, we have a tendency of creating these hagiographies about them as though they were saints, right? Because, oh my God, now they're not here to defend themselves and they're not, and like we take the humanity out of them and we just make them into, you see this at eulogies, right? When you go to funerals, like I went to a funeral a couple of years ago of somebody that people universally understood. He was very successful, but was a really tough person. And like everybody knew it. He kind of knew it. And he kind of prided himself on it. He's a Wall Street guy, right? Like this is what they're like.
Oh yeah.
And like the stuff at the funeral was like, oh, so and so. And they're like almost searching. They're like, I think one day back in 2001, he might have like fed a, stray cat. Like they're literally looking for like, and I'm sitting here thinking, why don't we just talk about this person the way he was? Like he was a complicated man with a complicated legacy who created complicated problems for people and then also solved some of them.
Right.
Like everybody's black. It's not black and white.
Right. People don't immediately just automatically become saints. Like there isn't like an automatic sainthood that just because you leave this earth. I mean, we're all going to leave this earth. We all don't get to be saints. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And by the way, if when I die, I would like people to actually have an honest discussion about me and be like, you know what? Complicated person, because we all are. And I don't think it's inappropriate. And it's not too soon to say that Charlie Kirk, his legacy is complicated. He espoused awful things from my perspective and from your perspective, Michelle, maybe not from the perspective of his followers, but really truly peddled awful stuff.
Yeah.
And did not deserve to die. And was super successful at what he did. And created something in his very short life that will remain as a legacy and a testament to him and will go on without him, because what he was able to do so successfully is it was not Kirk Point USA, it was Turning Point USA, which means that he created an ecosystem that will continue to live on, like Andrew Breitbart did.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
And
that's
so,
a really good example. Yeah.
And so that's all to the good. That's all to the good, but you can't ignore the fact that this man was not a great human being, and having him lie and state like he's fucking Thurgood Marshall. Sorry, Dad. When he said awful things about the very people who will be having to vote on this resolution is awful. By the way, if Donald Trump wants, or J.D. Vance wants to give up Air Force 2 to fly his casket at my taxpayer expense, that's his prerogative, I guess. That's, I don't support it, but fine.
Right.
If they want to all go to his funeral, great.
But the thing is that the shoe is on the other foot, Julie. I mean, can you imagine?
No. I mean, could you
That's the thing that I can't,
could you imagine if Rachel Maddow, I'm using her examples because a high profile person.
Anybody in,
I don't even know who our equivalent is, because that's how lame their Democratic parties become. We don't have any Charlie Kirk equivalents.
We don't have anything close.
We don't have any. I mean, I can't even think of who could be.
Nobody.
But whoever that person was, could you imagine if that person was like, you know what? I think all MAGA people are a bunch of racist, bigot, homophobic assholes. And said that over and over and over again. I wouldn't feel comfortable if a MAGA pilot was flying my plane, because I would think he just got that job because he sucked up to somebody who owns the airline, who loves Donald Trump.
Yep.
Like, could you imagine if anybody said that? Fox would be wall to wall. I mean, listen,
you know better than anybody.
I know better than anybody else.
You were in those morning meetings.
They do not. I wasn't, but
you weren't?
Oh, in the morning meetings? No, the morning meetings took place with executives.
I thought it was everybody.
No. The morning meetings were the executives on the second floor at Fox, and then they would kind of hand down the edict to the producers, and the producers would kind of tell people what to do.
Yeah.
In fairness, nobody ever told me what to say, because my job was to be the heel.
Yeah. Fair.
But certainly, if you were like a host of Fox and Friends or something, you knew very clearly what was expected of you.
Just very quickly, did I ever tell you I have a very good friend who was like the second assistant to Roger Ailes? Ever tell you that?
No, who?
I don't want to say her name because she's not aligned at all with them. And she
Wow.
used to wake up in the middle of the night with panic attacks that she
Was,
forgot to like lock something.
was she there when I
Um,
was there?
I don't, what year did you start there?
I was there from 2004 through 7.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll have to chat offline.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Anyway, sorry. I just
yeah,
want to
but
just
the
remember
point
that.
is like, uh, you know, they don't apologize. In fact, they double down
Oh yeah.
for 2 reasons.
Which is a Donald Trump thing to do.
For 2 reasons. One, if you never apologize, nobody will ever think you did anything wrong.
Mhm.
And 2, it's lucrative because the algorithm and television ratings reward controversy.
Mhm.
That's all. There's a reason why I was on Fox. They wanted the controversy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If it was all just people agreeing with each other all day long
Yeah.
over there, like no one would. They want a cage match.
They
They
want
want Gladiator. You
where
know.
MSNBC doesn't understand television ratings is they don't have like a Scott Jen, right? Like
I don't have any
CNN,
panel shows really. I mean,
CNN,
maybe I have a couple, but yeah.
CNN understands. Like Abby Phillips' show understands, right? It's
Mhm.
that they like the cage match. They like me going
Mhm.
after Scott Jennings and everybody else going after Scott Jennings and Scott Jennings going after everybody else. Like they get it. It's
Mhm.
not good for us.
It's a good question from Betsy here.
No. Well, I shouldn't say.
Um,
I left in June of 17. I
mm,
was there for the rise of Trump and for the first 6 months of his first term. Sean Hannity does.
mhm.
Um, Jesse Waters, I think, is too stupid, legitimately, to have any independent thought other than how much money he's cashing in on and how many
Oh
stupid
yeah.
jokes he can make. The rest of them do, sure. Most people, I would say, most people you see on the 5 are situational.
Yeah.
Um, Waters, even Waters to some extent.
Mhm.
My friend Jessie Tarlov, somebody mentioned her in the chat, is doing a phenomenal job. I don't watch the show, but
She's great. I only watch the clips like everybody
yeah,
else.
she's doing a phenomenal job there. Really a tough spot for her. I used to have that spot before she had it, and it's tough. You have to be super
Mhm.
prepared. I mean, I did not sleep at night because all I did was do my research because everybody else had a
Mm.
producer assigned to them, and I did too, handing them a packet of what to say, but I never wanted the packet from the Fox quote unquote brain room because I understood that what was in that packet is not anything that would have helped my argument. So I had to do my own. It's really it's a
I
tough
mean,
job.
that's
It's
woof.
a tough job.
Well,
Jesse
and that's funny, like you say that,
is doing a tough job.
because bringing it back to Charlie Kirk when he would go on these college campuses, there is actually a clip of this young woman challenging him. I don't know what campus it was on, and she's like got her backpack on and her big pants and her little tank top and like an iced coffee in her hand, and
Yeah,
she's like, "Do you see this?" And she's like, she's like, can we all agree you're 30 years old? You're 30 years old and you're coming to debate kids in college who are like not prepared to debate you. And you are like, this is silly.
well, shame on them. Honestly, I have no sympathy for that. Shame on them because if you're going to debate somebody, you better be prepared. Like,
Yeah.
or
Like
don't
that's
show up.
but and that's the thing is like these kids are just going about their lives. This guy shows up on campus. They want to go argue with him or debate him or whatever. And I don't think they know any better. Like some of them, like I think that they just want to go do it and see what it feels like, and not really understand that unfortunately these videos and the internet lives forever. That stuff will never go
Listen,
away.
Charlie Kirk was like, there has never been a TV show that I've gone on. People think you go on these shows for an hour and then, whether it's Abby Phillip, which I do now, or used to be the 5 and Outnumbered on Fox and so on. You think you go on for an hour and then that's it.
Yeah.
You have to really prepare,
Mhm.
especially when you're debating people. Like, I don't show up with Scott Jennings or Sir Michael Singleton or any of these other
Oh yeah.
they have
Yeah.
there without having everything.
Oh,
And yeah,
packet.
like stacks.
Yeah.
And it's an all day project. I mean,
Oh,
it is.
absolutely.
So if you're going to debate Charlie Kirk, if you would have debated Charlie Kirk, I should say, unfortunately, that can't happen anymore. But if you were going to debate him, you should be prepared. I don't care if you're 18. He was 18 at one
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
So
And he was very good at it. He
He
really,
was
really
very
was.
good at it. Now,
Even if the stuff he said wasn't true, like he had an untrue thing in his back pocket that he was going to say in such a way that it made it sound like it was true.
yeah, now,
And the other side didn't know. So they'd go, yeah, but and it's, yeah.
well, listen, if I had debated Charlie Kirk, it would have been a different story, right? Like, there's a
Right.
reason he went on college campuses.
Right. He knew he could win.
And it's good for social media to make somebody look like an idiot.
And also to say to his base and to rile up more young people to be like, see, look at these people on your college campuses. And again, like, this is why he was pushing people, don't go to college. It's not worth it. And this is like, what is it? The Dunning-Kruger effect, I think is what I saw somebody talking about this. It's where, these people think that they have very limited information, and they're very, very confident in that limited information. And that's kind of how I see Charlie Kirk, is like, he had this kind of limited experience in college or as a young man. And like, he just went out into the world with this small worldview, and was able to rile up millions of people. I mean, even recently, I just want to play this. This was just a couple months ago. He's talking at a conference or some sort of convention with very, very young women, girls.
Hi, Charlie. I'm Addie, and I'm 14. I'm a freshman in high school, and I was wondering, as someone who has like a different opinion on college, what would you say the pros and cons are? Because I'm interested in political journalism, and what would your advice be?
Yes, so let me also speak to some of the young ladies here in high school where your top, who's here where your top priority is get married and have kids? Raise your hand. Okay. Interestingly, I think there is an argument to bring back the MRS degree. And no, seriously. And just be clear, that's why you're going to college, right? Don't lie to yourself, I'm studying sociology. No, you're not. We know why you're here. And that's okay, actually. And that's a really good reason to go to college, actually, especially an SEC school. Like, you will find a husband if you have the intent to find a husband at Ole Miss. Like, it's just going to happen, okay? Or wherever. Yeah, there you go, see? Or at University of Alabama. But there you go. But I always laugh because, and by the way, we should bring back the celebration of the MRS degree, which is, no, serious. I mean, if you think about it, like, I say college is a scam, but if you're going to find your life partner, like, that's actually a really good reason to go to college. You have a bunch of people that are single, they're at the prime of their, let's just say attractiveness. The dating pool is as robust as you'll ever find, and they all live together over a 4-year period.
I mean, you get the point. But, and this is why I always say, I often say rather, that, the elder millennials, and Gen Xers, as women, we are the first group of women to ever be given a chance. And we're the first ones from when we were born to when we became adults, we're able to have financial freedom, to be financially independent, to get an education, and to be told that you can do the things that you want to do, and you can reach your dreams, and you can do these things just like the boys do. And what does it say that when this happens, when this first group of women become adults and enter the workforce, and start becoming financially independent and look around and say, I don't need this shit, I'm going to do this by myself, that you have an influx and surge of like a Charlie Kirk type mindset that says, oh, no, you don't, ladies. Oh, no, you don't. You're going to go back where you belong. And, this is who Charlie Kirk was, and it really makes me very concerned and worried for the women, the younger women coming up after us, the kind of dating pool and the colleagues that they're going to have to work with. Because I know there was a poll that came out recently, and I think we shared it in our group chat, where they polled young women and young men and like their top priorities in life, and like having kids and like getting married and all that was number one for young men. And for young women, it was get an education, get a job. And having children was the very, very last thing.
Well, because having children in this country is all on the women.
Yeah.
It just is. I don't care how wealthy you are or how poor you are, it
Mhm.
falls on you. I don't care if you have 27 nannies, it
Yep.
still falls on you.
Yep.
You know, as a matter of fact, I was talking to somebody, Michelle, yesterday. I had to go to this reception who is quite wealthy.
Mhm.
And I asked her, I hadn't seen her in a while. So I said, "How's your summer?" She said, "Oh, good." She goes, "I was out east," which is New York code for I was
Mhm.
in the Hamptons.
Mhm.
And they have a house out there. And I said, "How was it?" And she said, "Oh, I was basically a chauffeur. I had to take the kids, one kid to swim and the other kid to baseball, whatever they were doing.
Mhm.
And it was really tough." And I said, "Oh God, that sounds awful. You had to chauffeur them all, all the day long." She goes, "Yes, of course I had help, but still it was basically all on me."
I
So
know.
the help, so the reality is it doesn't matter how much help you have. I mean, I'm not suggesting help's not helpful, because believe me, I wish I had it.
Right.
But it doesn't matter. This woman was still basically saying that the entire summer was basically on her with the kids, while the husband
Mhm.
was, back in the city during the week working.
And a lot of it's like the emotional and mental labor as well. I
Yeah.
mean, the planning, the calendars, like the dentist appointments, the doctor's appointments, the medications, like all the stuff, and not to say that, there's a lot of great dads and husbands and stuff, but like it's just happens anyways.
And I want to say one thing, because we do have to go.
Yeah, yeah.
I've had this for a while, but I do want to say one thing. At the same time that Charlie Kirk was murdered, there was a school shooting in
Mhm.
Colorado.
Mhm.
And you might not know about that, or maybe you do, because there's a school shooting virtually every day in this country.
Mhm.
And what we as parents do is we look at those school shootings and we say, "There, but for the grace of God, go I."
Mhm.
And then you turn off the TV really quickly because you're almost afraid of having it kind of splash on you, and you just move on. You don't think about it. But it happens every day. And those kids at Sandy Hook,
Mm.
those kids at Columbine back in 1999,
I was junior in high school.
those kids in Florida at that horrible school shooting,
Mhm. Parkland.
Parkland. I know I have to narrow down which Florida school shooting it was.
I honestly.
None of those kids and the hundreds of others who
Mhm.
witnessed and have been injured and have died in school shootings in this country have ever gotten a ride in Air Force Two, or lied in state at their state capitol, their town hall, never mind in Congress. Nobody had a manhunt for their killer the way we had a manhunt here. CNN did not go wall to wall coverage.
Yeah.
And I want to just leave people with that, because we have lowered flags right now. We have a man who's going to lie in state.
Oh yeah, that's gonna happen for sure.
We have a media that is obsessed because it's one of them,
Hmm?
because they're all worried it's going to be them next.
Well, that's the other part of this. Like and listen, we're all afraid to an extent. I mean, like fearful for our safety. Anybody who speaks out. But listen, everybody on all the side there, everyone's freaked out. Members of Congress is being reported. They're all terrified.
Right.
Rightly so.
They actually don't have security. I don't know if people know this. They have security, you have to pay for it themselves.
Hmm.
It's awful.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say, because we do have to go, is that yesterday was September 11th. And Julie and I are both New Yorkers. Julie was in Washington, D.C. on that day, experienced a lot of what happened there. She was working in the Senate. I was a few hours away from New York. I was in college, but I moved to New York very shortly after that. And I feel like it's just been part of being a person and living in these places. And this was the cover of the New York Post yesterday. Never forget, all up in the right corner there.
Yep.
And I think, and a lot of people have said this on TV and other places, is that if something, God forbid, were to happen like this again, not only could we not trust our government and what they're telling us, but we certainly would not come together and help each other and love each other as neighbors and fellow Americans the way we did that day and the days that followed. So I just do want to pay homage to the first responders and survivors who continue to struggle with cancer and respiratory diseases. There are more people who have died since September 11th due to September 11th than died on that day. And we cannot abandon them in this country either. So I just want to say that because I think it is really important. And Julie, thank you so much for coming on and doing this today. We wanted to give this a moment to breathe before we said anything. But this was a really great conversation, and it felt good to talk. And I hope everybody else got something out of this too. So
Thanks, everybody. Bye, Michelle.
bye.